Asalamu Alaykum. Thank you for joining me. I want to take these precious moments of your time in order to explain to you why investing in Gulshan Farms is one of the best things you can do. There are many reasons why that may be the case, but one of the best ones is the fact that you are today investing $40,000 in one unit of shares, which gives you 1% ownership of the farm. And I want to explain to you how that 1%, which is worth 40,000 today, will be worth about 100,000 in 2029 and 2030. So in addition to all of the benefits in terms of your dividend income, which is your passive income that will come to you every single year, you will also benefit from the fact that your share price, your share that you own, is increasing in value to a point where we estimate, and I estimate, that it will be worth about $100,000, if not more. I'm going to take these few minutes to demonstrate how I've come to that conclusion. I'll go through some slides, I'll go through some spreadsheets, and I'll explain the calculations, and then that'll give you some confidence in why we're assuming such amazing results for you if you were to invest in Gulshan Farms. So let's start with just a few slides together. So the first thing to realize is, for those that don't know, is that Gulshan Farms is a dairy farm. It's situated in a place called Kasur, which is just outside the main city of Lahore in Pakistan. We currently are an established farm. We have over 350 animals currently on our farm, and we are growing at a very, very rapid rate. Our main business model as a farm is that we are a breeding farm. So we import very high quality pedigree animals from Australia. We specialize in these animals, and our intention is to breed these animals to a point where we have a herd size of about 2,000 animals, at which point we will sell some of that herd every single year in order to generate profits for our investors. So let me go through. So with that being said, it's important to understand that Gulshan Farms therefore has two sources of income. The first is obvious, and that's milk. Our animals are obviously being milked, and we're selling the milk, and we generate amazing returns from those milk sales. However, our main business model is not to rely on the milk sales. The milk sales basically sustain the farm. All the operational costs of the farm are absorbed by those milk sales. And the reason we do that is because when we get to a point in 2029 and 30, when we are selling 300 to 350 animals, those sales will be pure profit for our investors, because all of the operational costs will be taken care of by the milk sales, and anything left over will also come back to our investors, but the bulk of the profits will be generated through the sale of these animals. So this is really the purpose of this video. I want to explain to you how in 2022, you can see that last year and the year before, we were selling shares at $25,000. So if you were to buy a share 2 years ago, when the farm was smaller, there was more risk, it was $25,000. Today we are selling our remaining shares we've only got about 9 shares left. We are selling 1% unit of shares for $40,000. So today that same share has increased in value to $40,000. And what I want to share with you is why we expect that if you were to buy a share today for $40,000, in 2029 and 30 and onwards, your share would minimally be worth approximately $100,000. Now you might be thinking, how is that possible? And I want to explain to you through this spreadsheet how I've come to that conclusion. All right. So remember what you're buying when you buy a unit of shares. So we're asking you to pay $40,000 for 1 unit of shares. What that means is that 1 unit is basically 250 shares, and 250 shares is 1% of the farm. So the thing to remember is you are basically buying 1% ownership of the farm with $40,000. So if we go through the spreadsheet together, I'm going to explain to you how I've come to the conclusion that in 2029, that 1% share will be worth $100,000. So as you can see on the left hand side here, we have the years starting with 2022 going all the way to 2034. So as the years increase, you can see in the second column here, we've got number of animals. So we obviously in 2023, we had less animals, and that herd is naturally growing through the birth cycle of the farm. So currently, I mean, these are older figures. So we currently have over 350 animals on the farm. And as you can see, that number will increase as the years go on until when we get to 2029 and 30, we expect to have between 1,800 and 2,000 animals as a total herd size on our farm. And that's the point that we'll be selling these excess animals to the market. So that's the first thing to understand, is the herd size and how it's growing. Now, each animal is worth, in terms of actual financial worth, is on an average, as you can see here, of $5,350. So each animal that we have on our farm is going to be worth $5,350 on average. So as you can see here, what we've done is we have multiplied the number of animals in a given year by that figure of $5,350. And what we've got is this value of animals column here. So obviously we can work out what our total herd size in any given year is worth just by focusing on the amount of animals that we have at that current time. And as you can see, that number is gradually going to increase until we get to a point in 2029 when we will have a total herd size worth just shy of $10 million. So that's just the animals. Based upon this average figure per animal will be worth about $10 million. And there's two ways now I've chosen to try and determine the share value. The first way is to look at the share price in USD, in US dollars, based on the value of the animals that we have. So if this column C here is the value of the total value of the animals, of the total herd size, all we have to do is divide that number by 100 in order to give you the value of your share. So as you can see, in 2029 and 30, your one share, if you have one share, will be worth $98,000 to $100,000. That's just looking at the value of the animals on the farm, dividing it by 100 to give you your 1% value. So if you were to come to the market at that point, you could confidently say, well, I own 1% of a farm that has a cattle has a cattle and herd size worth 10 million, and therefore my 1% is worth 100,000. So that's option one in determining your share value. All right, and even that I've been conservative, because actually when you value a business, you value it based upon its assets, but you also value it based upon its goodwill and the fact that this is an operational business. So by that point, we will be an established farm with all of the requirements of an established business, and normally that would be factored in when you value a business. But I'm trying to ignore the complexities, and I'm trying to give us the simplest way of coming to a figure that we can understand. So option one is just looking at the value of the animals as a total herd size and then dividing that by 100, and we've got to the figure of about 100,000 per share. All right. Option two. So option two, everybody, is an alternative way of determining the value of your share, and it's an interesting one. Option two looks at the revenue that we're expecting to give our investors in terms of dividends. So we know every single year beyond 26, we're going to be starting to give our shareholders dividends. Based upon that revenue that we're going to be giving in dividends, if you were to come to somebody in the UK and sell your share, we can predetermine at a particular % return on investment what the value of that share would be. So there's an actual calculation for this to allow us to if we know certain things, what should the value of that investment be. So what we will know, as you can see in column D, we can see the dividends in US dollars. So in 2026, we're expecting to give $625 of returns. It's very early days, it's just a nominal figure. And as you can see, in 2027, each shareholder will get $1,000, 2028, $4,050, 2029, $6,050, and then going on from 2029 and 30, we're expecting to deliver between $10,000 to $15,000 of dividends every single year to our investors. Okay, so that's understood. We understand how much money, if you were to hold a share in Gulshan Farms, how much money of dividends you would get into your pocket every single year. So let's go forward from 29-30 when we're selling our animals, we expect between $10,000 to $15,000. As you can see here, you've got numbers ranging from 13,000, they go down to 10,000, and then they go to 12,000. And the variability really is because, all right, so that's the first thing to understand, is that we are delivering dividends to our investors. Okay, so that's one piece of information, how much money you're getting back. Now, the way to determine this is I've chose 9% as a conservative return on investment that will allow us to determine the share price. So if you were to come to somebody in the UK and say, I've got a business opportunity for you that's going to give immediately 9% return on investment, that would be an amazing opportunity. As we've said previously, the UK property market generally delivers 6% returns, and that's an active investment. This is a completely passive investment, and if you were to give somebody an opportunity of 9% return on a passive, immediate return on investment, that would be a no-brainer for most people. So let's stay conservative. Let's say to people that actually, if you were to buy my share, you will get a 9% return on investment. So what we need to determine is, if somebody's getting a 9% return on investment based upon these dividends, what should the share price be? And what I've done is, if you go to ChatGPT, just to demonstrate the formula, I've asked ChatGPT to determine the value of the investment that yields a 9% return based on the annual revenue you expect to receive. You can use the formula. So the investment value, so how much the person would buy your share, would be the annual revenue, which we know in any given year, divided by the return rate, which we've determined to be 9%. So I've put that calculation into this spreadsheet, and as you can see here, and then we've come out with what the price of the share will be for a 9% return on investment. And as you can see, that's this column here. So in 2029, this actually will mean you should really be selling your share for 146,000, 150,000, 118,000. So we can say between 120 to 150,000 if you were to sell it to somebody in the UK or anywhere in the world and say, I'm going to give you an investment that's going to give you a 9% return on investment. The way we determine that is based upon the fact that actually, if you were to buy it today, you would get an immediate 9%. And if you did that, to be honest with you, you could quite comfortably sell it for between $120,000 to $150,000. So we've got two ways of determining our share value. And one was based upon cattle, the amount of cattle that we have divided by 100, and the value divided by 100. The second was based upon the fact that you're coming to the market with an opportunity of a 9% return on investment. And we've got two slightly different figures, one slightly less, one slightly more. If we take an average of that, everybody, just to make it easy, you can see in year 2029, you can see that 2030, your share value on average will be worth $125,000, $128,000, $112,000, depending on how many animals we're selling. So I've rounded that down today to say to you that you should very confidently at that point be able to sell your share, if you wanted to, for $100,000. So how amazing is that? Is not only are you getting the dividend income, but you know that your share has actually increased from 40,000 to comfortably 100,000, if not up to possibly 150,000, depending on who you are selling it to. I hope that was beneficial for you. If you're interested in investing in Gulshan Farms, there's only a few shares left. I urge you to contact me at this moment in time. We're having conversations with people. We're looking for people to pay deposits to secure their shares. I don't expect it to take very long to sell. This sells itself, but we'd love to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time. See you next time. Assalamu Alaikum.